Welcome to another week of Huddle Up. We were on hiatus last week, but for good reason. We'll get into that in a second. Lots to talk about today between the Super Bowl coming up in a couple of weeks, the highly anticipated Pro Bowl coming up this week, and we got some local basketball as well. Hopefully Matt Toof, the BFA boys basketball coach, will join us here towards the bottom of the hour. We can talk a little bit of the matchup between BFA and MVU, a great game last night that I was able to attend along with Dustin Tanner for Northwest Access TV. So to my immediate right, JT, welcome back.
Thank you.
You were off, you had an emergency cancellation last week, so we had to cancel the show.
Babies tend to do that.
Yeah, okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Baby number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Having fun, sleeping well?
Sure.
Sure, all
right.
right.
That.
Yeah. You're able to break away from whatever shackles you had on you to be able to come here and do the show today, so we appreciate it. So I take it it's just like, well, I got to go pick up the other kids, so I'll just leave early type of thing. Yeah,
it works.
So, there you go. Did you get a chance to cradle the baby and watch the games this weekend?
I did. Actually, it was rather cute as I was watching, I think it was it was the Denver game. Denver, New England, and my wife was holding the baby, and she turned the baby towards her, and he started to cry, and then she turned around, sat him up, and he watched the game with me for a while before he fell asleep. So that was perfect.
Very cool. So it's good that his first view of football is Tom Brady losing. I don't think you could think of that coming
any better,
right?
No,
of course.
It's perfect.
Obviously, like I said, we have the luxury of being able to download what the hell just happened. I can say that. Pro Bowl, so AFC Championship, Broncos prevail despite a ridiculous-looking type of comeback from Tom Brady and company towards the end of the game, and Carolina, just a bye week going into the Super Bowl against Arizona Cardinals. What are your first takeaways from? Let's start with the AFC.
I was hoping Denver would win, and I had no expectation that they would. Obviously, you know that I hate Tom Brady.
No, I think a lot of people were hoping that.
And watching that game, it was. If you enjoy watching defensive players battle, it was a great game to watch. Mm-hmm. Peyton Manning looked awful all game long. His balls flied. There was no his accuracy wasn't there. Mm-hmm. Nothing looked fluent.
I don't think there was anything behind it either. His receivers really bailed him out on a bunch of plays.
And Demaryius Thomas, talk about a top wide receiver that everyone is expecting to do great things, doing absolutely nothing all year long.
One catch in the first half, something like that.
And he drops everything. He's more of a liability at this point on that offense. And then when you look at their defense, which has been very good all year long, but the key of stopping New England is getting to Brady and getting to him often. And when you look at this Denver team, their front line is the best front line in football. I mean, they are dominant. And if you give Brady time, he's going to find the open guy, and he did that throughout the game. But just not often enough, and he got hurt.
Not as much as he wanted to. No, he got hit 23 times. He was knocked down. Most he's ever been knocked down, I think, this year.
And what at least I saw, and I'm curious to see if you saw the same thing. But he got hit so much. But by the end of the game, those 2-point conversions, you saw him not scared, but he was waiting for that hit. He was waiting.
It was very Manning-esque. We say all the time when we're playing football, if the quarterback drops back and falls, like, oh, he Manninged, because that was him. That's a Brett Favre move. It's a Manning move that you get scared in the pocket and you fall. And it seemed that Brady was very jittery towards the end of the game. Like he was almost when he would get 3 seconds, he was almost that whole second past the 2 seconds he normally has. It's almost like he was waiting to get hit.
He was banking on getting destroyed.
Right.
And that was interesting because I've never seen Brady like that before. So that was kind of different. Now, I have battered the New England offensive line all year long. They've been bad. But then you
put him up against a front line like Denver that has been great all year round. The funny stat that I read, I think Denver the entire game blitzed 13% of the time, and that's how many times. And Brady was knocked down. I think 23 times he was reached. So it wasn't like their game plan was blitz Brady.
No.
It wasn't. It was just let's just go out there and play football. Let's play a normal game of football.
Well, they double-covered
and
Gronk all game long.
Yeah, and Brady was unable to find Edelman, but he didn't have any time. That was the problem, and that goes to show you how good. I don't know if it goes to show you how good Denver's defense is or how terrible the Patriots' offensive line was. But I do remember earlier in this year, I can't remember the game it was, the Patriots were throwing everyone and anyone on that offensive line, just shifting players to a point where people were laughing, saying that, oh, I could play offensive line. I can go in there and play. And it shows that type of system does not work. And I'm very curious to see if we'll never know, if that's the reason why the offensive line coach was fired so quickly following this game, that his system that he probably stood behind the entire year just didn't fan out in one of the most important games of the year.
Yeah, it was interesting. They got to Brady often without the blitz. They got to him on the four-man rush. Von Miller was an animal all game long. DeMarcus Ware, you didn't hear a whole lot about him, but he was getting there all the time.
He was opening holes, too, throughout the whole game.
So, I mean, these players just had such an impact on that game. And when you see a quarterback of that caliber struggle to get that ball out, who is a quarterback who gets that ball out in a matter of a second or two, routinely, I mean, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't find it. And then he was just constantly thinking about that next hit because he was getting rocked. Minus, you saw Edelman get demolished by that, or I think he was a safety, actually.
He got hit, got right back up.
Got right back up. They called the flag on it, which I get, but at the same time, that was one of those hits where it wasn't helmet to helmet, it was shoulder to shoulder. It looked bad live, and then you saw the replay.
Yeah, I remember. I actually remember saying that. I was with a few people at the time, and I remember saying, I can't get excited over the live plays because I really don't know what happened because it's such a quick game. And you got to give some of these refs just a little bit of slack because to watch it in a second time in replay in slow motion, you're like, oh, that wasn't really as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
But in live view, it's like, oh my God, his head's been taken off.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's tough with that is I'm so sick of the defensive player rule. I'm so sick of, you can't hit a receiver, you can't hit a quarterback, but you can demolish a running back. Like, it's got to be fair
and vice versa. A running back can demolish a cornerback when he's running up the side.
That was an old school football play. I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder. It was not egregious. It was a hard hit. But in the game of football, that's illegal.
I feel like what the purpose of the defenseless receiver was supposed to bring out was basically a receiver that's not looking. You want to take out the blindsided hits. And now it's kind of turned into, oh, he can catch it, but if he's turning and you're right there, oh, flag, see ya, you're gone, type of thing. And that's not what it should be for. It should be for when you're, it should be for blindsiding.
Yeah.
Is what because you don't want a receiver.
You're catching the ball like this and you're getting hit into the back.
Right.
That I can see, but I see it more of like I saw it in that game too. One of the receivers went up for a ball, was in the air, and got smoked in the air. Okay, that's a defensive player because where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You're in the air. And he got rocked. But there's no flag on that because you're tackling him in the air.
Right.
But that's a defensive player. That is somebody who can't
I really think the wording or the definition of what a defensive player is needs to be reviewed. And same thing with what a catch is. That's been the problem the entire year. Like, oh, well, if you look at it, you're thinking, no, that's a catch. But by definition of the rule, it's not. It's kind of very similar to like the tuck rule back in 01 or 2000. Did Brady really throw that ball? No, but by definition, that's an incomplete pass. And it's like, no, Patriots, obviously, like they fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
There's a lot of definition tweaking that needs to happen in the NFL. So I hope that throughout this offseason, they go and do that same, they kind of review some of these rules and maybe some of the definitions. And I hope they're hosting clinics for these refs because this whole year, that's been the big headline, is that these refs are terrible. Be honest with me on this one. When Brady made that completion to Gronk, not the touchdown, but the play beforehand, that just Hail Mary, 4th and 8 play, did you have an inkling that the Pats were going to win that game?
I thought the Pats were going to win the entire game. I expected them to come back, and the fact they didn't shocked me because of how bad the Denver offense is. but I thought they were going to do it.
I thought the Patriots defense did a really good job against, like I said, a mediocre Peyton Manning. The problem is that the Denver defense helped out. They helped out with scoring. You know, they were able to keep Denver's offense on that side of the 50, which is what you needed. The Patriots, it seemed like every single time they got the ball, they were at their 10, at their 5, at their 8, and that's a long way to go against Denver's defense.
Oh, yeah. And 2 picks, I mean, that doesn't help you either.
No.
I mean, and that's another thing that you just don't see Brady do. And they were bad picks. I mean, minus...
The one to Von Miller was, it was right at him. It was as if he was throwing to him.
And then the other one where he undercut, I mean, that's... As a caliber quarterback as Tom Brady is, you have to be able to see that. You have to see that. And, I mean, he just undercut that perfectly, running right side by side and then just going, no, never mind, my ball. I mean, these are...
The deep one, though, to the left side when the second interception, we've seen that from Brady almost all year. He's been throwing these balls to the receivers that it's like, and I've said this before, it's like he thinks Randy Moss is out there. He's not.
No.
It's not. You don't have that kind of deep threat anymore that's going to battle for the ball.
No, you don't. And it's... That whole game was very interesting how it was played, and it was a fun game to watch because it kept you on the seat of your pants.
Oh, it was exciting the entire game. Don't get me wrong. The other one, however, NFC, I shut it off. It was for me. It was boring. It honestly was, and it was almost like it's like that favorite book or that favorite movie you watch. You know how it's going to play out every time. Carolina gets a big lead, coasts to the end. I had shut it off maybe, I don't know, after the second, maybe before the second quarter was even over, and I had gone back like an hour or something later, and the teams 2 hours later, and the teams were taking pictures on the sidelines with all the different media and everything. And I was like, oh, the game's over. No, there was still 2 minutes to play, and everyone in Carolina's side was just taking photos and pictures and everything. It was crazy. It just was. It was baffling to me that it was that much of a mismatch between teams. I thought Carolina. I mean, we were talking that between the Cardinals and Panthers that it would be a more exciting game, and that's kind of like the Super Bowl matchup we would like to see. It wasn't even close.
No, and this is the one thing that I have to say is the fact that Arizona did that bad against Carolina, the Super Bowl is going to be ugly.
I mean, I guess I have to give it to Denver because this is the second time for the Patriots that they've kind of relieved them of being embarrassed in the Super Bowl. 2 years ago, Denver beats the Patriots, goes on, plays Seattle, gets smoked. This year, I don't see it coming out any differently.
No, I don't either. Carolina did a lot of things in that game, and I not making excuses because I like Arizona, but I think that damaged finger held a lot more
40 points?
40
points more into it?
Yeah, because they had the receivers, they had open receivers, they had the shots down the field where he could have gotten it there. His balls were off target all game long, and that's on him. And I think that finger definitely played part of it because he was accurate all year long. He hurt that finger, and then since he hurt that finger, his balls have flown.
Now, something that I kind of looked at, though, with the Carolina defense, I'm sorry, the Denver defense, they didn't show much at anything. If anything, they didn't show anything during this game against New England. Does that mean they've got something that they're putting together for a team like Carolina?
Carolina, you have to be worried about that Cam Newton.
Yeah, the mobile quarterback.
But so let me get to these stats, as I was telling you earlier. Denver's defensive stats for the year: 39 sacks, 23 picks, and 11 fumbles.
Okay, it's a great turnover rate. Yeah,
it's a great turnover ratio, and it's a lot of hits on a quarterback. Now you go to Carolina, 8 sacks, 6 picks, and 2 fumbles.
A couple of those picks are for touchdowns, too.
They are. But nevertheless, I mean, you're just talking, Carolina's defense is good.
It's almost like it's more neutral in a sense of they don't allow you to score, but they don't do it either.
Correct. And it's 2 different styles of defense where Cam Newton, he's not going to have that time to throw the ball. But at the same time, if you get in on him, you have to be able to contain him. And that's going to be the question for Denver is they're going to put more pressure on Cam Newton than he's had all year long. The question is whether or not they can contain him or whether or not he's going to rush for 200 yards in this game. And so that's going to be interesting to see.
Now, Denver didn't allow Brady to step up in that pocket, and I think that's where Cam Newton kind of thrives, is once he gets to step up into that pocket, he's able to get going.
And that's when he gets those long shots to Funchess and who's the other guy out
You
there?
always ask me that. I have no idea. I'm not a Carolina fan.
Well, whatever. The other guy. And Olsen. Olsen's been insane. Now, for Denver, they just doubled up Gronk. And they didn't stop him, but they did enough to make it hard for New England to win. They're going to do the same thing to Olsen. And he's an easier person to guard. He's no Gronk.
Right, and when you're comparing receivers, I'll take Edelman over Funchess anytime.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm like I said, we didn't really see much from Denver. We saw a little bit of double team, basically no pressure on the quarterback, but that offensive line collapsed every single play, and not much from their other wide receivers as well. So it's like, oh, what are we going to see from Denver? Is Wade Phillips going to create this ridiculous defensive scheme that can contain someone like Cam Newton? And that's the X factor.
It is, but I don't think they change their scheme. I don't think they add trick blitzes or anything like that. I think they stick with the basics, because the basics work for them. It's use the line you have because your line is good. And it's that job of you may not be able to double team Olsen quite as much because you're going to want that extra defender to QB spy,
right?
You know.
Well, the other part is too is that the Patriots' offensive line obviously crap at this point. The Panthers' offensive line isn't.
No, but so when you also look at this and you go, you have to contain a guy like Cam Newton. You're looking at Von Miller, who is one of the most athletic defensive players. You're looking at DeMarcus Ware, although he's old, one of the most athletic defensive players. And let's not forget about Talib, because he is multifunctional, whether he's rushing in on the quarterback or whether he's guarding the receiver.
Right.
So you're talking about very athletic guys to be able to stop Newton. And these aren't small guys either. Cam Newton's a big dude. You have to lay it to him in order to tackle him. He's not an easy tackle. And these guys have the power, and they have the agility, and they have the speed to be able to do that. So I think they stick with the basics. I think they stick with not minimal blitzing, but I probably would expect the blitzing to go up just a little bit, but probably not over 20%. And stick with blocking him in. They've got a good. They have good defensive backs, and they're not nearly as good as New England's are. But at the same time, I have every expectation that Carolina wins this game by several touchdowns. We'll
save predictions for next. But I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't see this being a very close game. However, a lot of people go, "Oh, I can't stand Peyton Manning. I hate the Denver Broncos," and part of me is kind of like, "Yeah, but if they at least gave Carolina a good game, it'd be kind of hard not to root for the Broncos." For me personally, I don't hate Peyton Manning. I'm a New England fan. He's given, me multiple heart attacks, in close calls to a point where I should not like him because he's gone so back and forth with Brady, and on the other end, he's, when they go to him in the postseason, it usually favors on his side. But he's one of those players I really don't hate. I almost root a little bit for him, and I will be rooting for him in the Super Bowl. It's not to say I won't be rooting for Carolina as well, because they're just so much fun to watch.
Yeah. It's tough because, as a sports fan, you always want to see the great players go out on top. And for Peyton Manning to be back in the Super Bowl, which is clearly, it needs to be his last year. Oh my God, if he plays next year, I will not.
Well, did you hear what they've captured from what he said to Belichick and Brady during the post game? He pretty much went up to them and said, "Hey man, this might be my last go around. Thank you so much. You've been a great competitor, and thank you." So he's pretty much, it's almost like he's saying his last goodbyes to the Patriots.
It needs to be. He's done.
We've been saying this all year, that he's injured, it's time to move on, and it's just so funny that he's now in this this opportunity to win a Super Bowl and go out on top. Go the John Elway way. What better place to do it than Denver?
Yeah.
Do it like John Elway. Just go out on top.
And so I have to root for him, but at the same time, I won't be mad if Carolina wins. I mean, Cam Newton has put on a show all year long. Their entire team has just been fun to watch.
It's been like a rock tour, really.
And it's not so much the plays that are made; it's their emotion during a game. And I've talked about that constantly all year long. Is they are fun to watch because they are so full of life on that field, and that's what creates them to be a fun team to watch. And I hope, for the sake of a good football game, it's a close game, and I just can't quite see how it will be.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little less than 2 weeks away. We'll still have Media Day that'll pop up before our next show, so we'll be able to see some of the crazy questions or something that maybe people ask. You might have maybe there is a player on either side that pulls the Marshawn Lynch type of situation. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I think that would be great if we saw another player like that. Just something a little funny coming from Media Day. Something that's coming up this week that both of us have kind of agreed that is just a waste of time is the Pro Bowl.
It is, and it's sad for the athletes. I don't really know how to say that.
It's sad for the multi-million-dollar athletes.
This is supposed to be an honor, like winning a Heisman or going to the All-Star games. In every sport, I love the basketball All-Star game. I think it's a blast to watch. More people watch the home run derby than they do watch the actual All-Star baseball game. But at the same time, it's that same general idea. It's supposed to be this great honor.
Well, honestly, you could say the same thing for NBA, where their kind of skills and dunk and three-point probably get more eyeballs than the actual game itself.
I completely agree. But they're fun to watch, and their athletes are honored to be at these events. When we look at the Pro Bowl, the top dogs don't want to play, minus whether or not...
Not only that, but the top dogs aren't playing because they have the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, those
You're not
two.
going to see the Peyton Mannings and Cam Newtons because they have a Super Bowl to prepare for. They're not playing in a Pro Bowl.
No.
But then you get the backups. Then you have those backups. The backup for the AFC, or maybe he's the starter for the AFC, Tom Brady, isn't even going. And actually, none of the Patriots are going.
Neither is Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the players that should be in that game don't want to be there. Whether or not that's part of, my season's over, I'm ready to go and spend time with my family and what have you, which in that regard I definitely respect.
I can understand the Cardinals and Patriots taking that route. I can absolutely understand that. It's like, listen, I just got beat in a way, the last game you could possibly lose, before going to, so you put all your stock into getting to the Super Bowl. That last game, and then a week later, you're supposed to go out there and put a face on for the fans. Yeah. I can't see how you could do that.
So for the NBA, for the NFL, the only thing that I can think of is you look at every other league's All-Star game. When is it? It's midway into the season. Why is the football at the end? Put it in the middle. It creates an opportunity for all the players that are not on that field to have a week of rest other than their bye week. That's a huge added benefit. Does it put more stress on those players? Yes, but the point of the All-Star game is to not hit people like that. Your chances, in theory, the chances of you getting hit and being hurt are unlikely because the style of football during that type of game is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be.
I think the way people would look at it, if you had it in the middle, and this is the discussion I wanted to get into. How do you make the Pro Bowl exciting again? And putting it midway during the season, I could see. I mean, the first argument is, oh well, coaches won't send their players because they need them for the second half. That's what the three other pro sports teams do. Baseball, they send it, and this is going to be completely different because if you put the Pro Bowl on week 9 or whatever have you be, you're talking 2 weeks off for most players. The top players get sent in, and that's how it goes. And they can go. They represent. I mean, I would almost change it up. Don't do 11 on 11. Have them go in. Let's see some 7 on 7 action. That'd be so much fun to see. Then you have a few linemen, a couple wide receivers, a running back, and a quarterback. I'll watch that all. I would watch that. I think it'd be more fun. Decrease the field to like 60 yards, 70 yards, and just have fun with it.
Yeah, I'd be okay if you just got rid of the line. Completely. Get rid of it. No pass rush. That way your quarterbacks are safe. You're not going to have to worry about that. And you're playing offensive football, minus that no line makes running a little bit harder. But at the end of the day, your biggest worries and the players that are refusing to play in this event are quarterbacks because they don't want to get hurt, which you understand. So take away that risk. What difference is in practice football? You throw on a red jersey and you can't touch me.
Right.
You need to be able to make this event something fun. And at the same time, as a fan, you're buying tickets to go to this Pro Bowl event, which is in Hawaii and extremely expensive. And every player that you want to see is saying, I'm good.
Yeah. How many? Did you find out how many people have been?
I didn't. It was like 136 yesterday when I saw it.
That have declined, right? Yeah. That shows you that not even the players want to go to this Pro Bowl. And the last thing you want is them to take a Major League Baseball approach to this by saying, well, actually, guys, this year, the Pro Bowl means something. Like, whoever wins the Pro Bowl, that team in the Super Bowl gets the ball first or gets to decide. They've automatically won the coin toss. I would really hate for them to see that because in the NBA, the All-Star game there's no repercussions of anything if a team loses. Same thing in the NHL. I wish that there was something that they could do to improve the Pro Bowl and maybe I know people were even complaining that it's in Hawaii, that the fact that it's so far away. If you had it in Los Angeles, you had it in Miami, more players might be apt to make the continental trip.
Oh, which I completely agree with, because for you and me, I don't have the money to fly out to Hawaii to go watch that game.
But what I
would love to. If it's in Miami, it's reasonable. Well, a flight to Hawaii is $1,000. So let's be realistic here. You got to make it affordable and possible for people to be able to make.
I honestly think they should make it just the kickoff of the Super Bowl. Have it wherever the Super Bowl is being held. Start that Sunday with boom, the NFL's greatest stars are here, and in a week you're going to see the top 2 teams. You could just kick it off that way, and I think that'd be a lot of fun to see. But start off the fanfare in that sense. One thing that I thought that they should do is they should take the approach of the AHL, the NHL. Do you know when the NHL All-Star Game is?
No idea.
Sunday. Now, granted, the NHL does a terrible, terrible job of promoting when they're because if you're not an NHL fan, you have no idea. I came across it on a whim because someone on Facebook liked a page. Like, otherwise, I would have no idea that it was this week. Now, I'm not going to record this Sunday, the same day as the Pro Bowl. Now, I'm not going to record the NHL All-Star Game. I am, however, going to record the Saturday nights because that's when they do their skills competition. That's what the Pro Bowl, I think, is missing. They're missing that home run derby. The home run derby is that skills competition for Major League Baseball that even if you're not a fan of baseball, you'd love to see a guy hit a ball as hard as he frickin' can, as many times as he can. Imagine if before the Pro Bowl on that Saturday, you were able to see the top NFL kickers try and kick 70, 80-yard field goals. What if you got to see a target like a range or something like that between Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, who can be more accurate. Anything.
Tie a receiver's hand behind his back, and it's one-handed catches for all the receivers.
Glued to my TV. Glued to my TV watching that kind of thing. And that's what I think the Pro Bowl's missing. Now, a few years ago, probably a dozen years ago, they did do something very similar. They did kind of like a horse game with the kickers. They had an obstacle course they did with the wide receivers, kind of like Wipeout, I guess, which was a lot of fun to watch. It was great to see them, compete against each other. And did it mean anything? No, but it was fun to see their athletes out of their element. Yeah, it was great. I remember that more than I remember the Pro Bowl because I can't tell you who won the Pro Bowl, but I can tell you that David Akers won the kicking contest that year. And I'm talking like 10, 12 years ago.
It was in Philly.
Right, when it was Philly. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's the kind of thing I would want to see from Pro Bowl weekend. I was like I said, I was going through NHL, and I was looking at their All-Star. These are some of the things that they're doing this year. I think they do it better than anyone, but they just don't promote it well enough. Because some of these things I would love to see. They have, every one of these is sponsored. I'm not going to say the sponsor, but NHL Fastest Skater. So they're going to have a relay of, they're gonna have a relay of teammates basically that will go around. It's kind of like when you see the Olympics when they're speed skating. Yep. The breakaway challenge where a player is going down the ice, they get a pass from their teammate, and then they have to shoot right away on the goalie. Accuracy shooting is where you see the targets in every corner. The skills challenge relay, so it's going to be a bunch of teammates doing different shots. One of everyone's favorite is the NHL hardest shot, where you see how hard that they can actually slap shot a puck. I mean, those are things that they're really fun to watch. The crowd really gets amped up for it. I would love to be able to see something like that transition to football.
Absolutely. I mean, and you think about it the same style as the NBA.
And those are the NHL's best start. Like, that's the difference between Pro Bowl and NHL, is that the NHL's top players are actually going.
Yeah. Which is the same style as the NBA. It's an honor to be in that NBA dunk contest. And minus there are some players that should have gone to it that haven't. But at the
Still
same
waiting,
time,
man. Still waiting for LeBron to enter the dunk contest.
I know. But I mean, when you watch the dunk contest, when you watch the three-point contest, and my two favorite is I love the skills challenge for the point guards, and I love the three-point shooting contest. I think it's
three-point is my favorite. I like the three-pointing shooter because it's something I can watch in real time. When I'm watching the dunk competition, every dunk looks amazing, and then I see it in replay. I'm like, oh, okay, it was all right.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, where I'm like, well, what did he just do? And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. So I think that they could amp that up a bit, and I think they have to get the names in there. There's so many people that are in the three-point contest and in the dunk contest. I'm like, who the heck are these guys? They're the sixth man for Toronto, and I have no idea who this guy is. Everyone keeps saying we want to see LeBron. I want to see LeBron in the dunk competition. I think this year Kobe should just do every single friggin' thing because it would be.
It's his last year.
It's his last year. Why not? Will he? Nope. But it would be great to see him on the three-point contest. You know, and they tried to do that a little bit by bringing back like the Legends type of thing.
The Legends game. I
Right.
love the Legends game.
But it didn't really. It kind of fizzled out. It didn't work as well as you thought it would.
No, it didn't. But it was entertaining. Now, minus when you look at you look at statistics. When you see Kobe Bryant's stats, you're going to see trophies. You're going to see MVPs. You're going to see All-Star vote or All-Star games. This is something that's important to them. It's not.
I just don't understand. I don't know what the mentality. I don't understand why it's not important for the NFL players.
And it hasn't been in.
Because
forever.
it is, for at least from our vantage point as fans, it looks like it's a big deal for the NHL and it's a huge deal for the NBA. And on a Hall of Famer ballot standpoint, it's a huge deal to be sent to the All-Star game for baseball. Not many. I haven't seen many. More young players. Young players seem really excited to be there. A lot of players that are on different teams that have family ties, they're great when they want to go to the All-Star game together for baseball. But otherwise, you don't really see like the excitement that you do from NBA and the NHL when they're playing for their All-Star game. I mean, for a while, the All-Star game for baseball was more of a joke. It didn't mean anything. So baseball took it upon themselves to say, great, winner of this has home field advantage for the World Series. And everyone went, excuse me?
Yeah.
We have to take a game that is supposed to be fun and meaningless, and now you're going to put an important thing like that on it? Because I think that's huge going into it. Imagine a team that doesn't really have anything. I mean, imagine players that, they have great players, but they're not going anywhere. They've now decided the fate for maybe someone in their own division.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know what it is that the
let's
NFL
look back
can do.
To what year was it? I want to say 2009 maybe, where Shaq was in Phoenix and the All-Star game was in Phoenix.
With the Jabberwockies?
With the Jabberwockies, okay? Talk about, you want to see excitement and honor within a All-Star event. You watch Shaq and Kobe for the first time in their careers come back together and light up a court and have fun with one another. And they loved it. They ate it up. And it was one of the best All-Star games I've ever watched in my life. And so not only are you watching it from a player standpoint of players who don't get along at all, have a blast together. And then on the flip side of that, you're watching pregame and Shaq and LeBron and Dwight Howard are dancing in the court for all the fans. This is a fun event that they love doing. You know, why is it so hard to bring that into the NFL? What is wrong with the NFL system that makes it so uninteresting?
And a lot of people say it's because, they'll get injured and they don't want to do that, and something might happen to them. And I get that it's a contact sport, but then what's the excuse for the NHL, which can sometimes arguably be called even more tough than the NFL, with the injuries that these players receive in the NHL, and they just keep playing. Mm-hmm. How many times have we seen that where someone will literally break his leg on the ice and finish his line before coming out? An NFL player gets turf toe and he's out for 3 weeks. So, I mean, the difference between the argument of injury, I think, is invalid when it comes to these All-Star games.
I agree.
But I mean, you put the Pro Bowl in the middle of the season, you give players 2 weeks off in the middle of the season. Imagine how much better some of these teams are going to come back after 2 weeks off, or even just that week off leading up to the Pro Bowl, and then a week back in practice. You're going to see such a refreshed season of the NFL come back for that second half.
Yeah, I mean, for every offensive lineman, you're going, please go, oh, this is awesome. And everyone would get a chance to heal, to take that breath. Coaches would have an opportunity to have time to really gather the season together and figure out what's got to happen. And ownership gets the same opportunity too. You know, your team is 1-8 going into week 9. Now ownership can look at you and be like, all right, I'm going to give you 2 games to figure this out. Otherwise, adios. You know, it gives everyone an opportunity to take a look at what has happened and evaluate it, change it, and move on. And something has to happen because I'd rather eat my boogers than watch the Pro Bowl.
I can guarantee you that under Goodell's ownership, under his management, it's not going to be from him.
No,
it's going to have to be when a new, regime comes in. So I just don't see it coming from under Goodell, and I don't think Goodell's going anywhere anytime soon. Unfortunately for me, for most Pats fans. I know that a lot of friends of mine, all we were dreaming about was the fact that Goodell would have to hand over that Lombardi Trophy one more time. The one thing I can kind of take as a positive note from this, from the Patriots losing to Denver anyway, was that the last time that Denver beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship, they came back the next year and won the Super Bowl. So I'm granted on many lucky situations, but I'll take it. I'll take a little bit of positive. So we're talking just NHL, Pro Bowl. We did Super Bowl predictions. We can talk a little basketball right now if you'd like. I kind of got all the frustration I wanted to do out of the All-Star game in Pro Bowl. Stephen Curry and the Stephen Curry and Warriors played the Spurs on Monday. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the game or not.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
One of my buddies had tweeted out, it stinks that the most anticipated game of the year, we have to wait till 10:30 to watch.
That it does.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I think he tweeted it out probably about 8 in the morning. So, I mean, I understand how excited he was for this kind of game. I unfortunately didn't get to stay up to watch it, but I did watch all the highlights and everything as well. To me, really wasn't much to watch.
Oh, there was a lot to watch. Minus a lot's being said about Tim Duncan not being there or not playing in that game, which in some ways I would say yes, but at the same time, does Tim Duncan equal a 30-point spread? No.
Was that purposeful, though? Was that kind of Popovich's way of saying, I'm not going to give you everything. Let's see what you can do without Tim Duncan on the field.
I think it was, because at the end of the day, in order to play with Golden State, you have to play small ball because they don't play big ball. And that's what Tim Duncan adds to that team. When you have Tim Duncan and LaMarcus Aldridge on the court, you've got 2 big guys. Golden State doesn't play that way. So they have to learn how to play small ball. Now let's take a game back before we get into the Spurs-Warriors game. Cleveland lost, or Warriors lost
Right,
again.
another game.
It was interesting and wild, and they got blown out by Detroit. It was different.
So they've got, now, correct me if I'm wrong, they have 4 losses now in the year?
And then they have to go and play, or the Cavs play at Golden State. Or no, it was at Cavs.
At Cavs.
It was at Cavs. And obviously another highlight game that everyone's going, awesome, this was the finals last year, this is great. And you watched a team fall apart, 132-98. I mean, these guys were killing them. And again, one of those lovely stats that you so liked is who didn't play in the fourth quarter? Half the team.
Half the team, yeah.
Klay Thompson didn't play. Stephon Curry didn't play. And this is against the best team in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
And you're going, really? So not only did they tear apart Cleveland, so then Spurs come in. How they won that game, Tony Parker turned the ball over. Stephon Curry turned Tony Parker over. He doesn't do that.
Right.
Tony Parker is one of the best point guards in the league. LaMarcus Aldridge did nothing. He couldn't shoot the ball. He's a liability on the court because he has no ball skills. Klay Thompson had a good game. Green had a good game. Bogart had a good game. I saw something.
Yeah, I think we got a call. I think it's time for my favorite favorite segment of the day. It's the tooth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth. Coach, thank you for joining us on Huddle Up. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Is this really your favorite part of the show?
This is my favorite segment of the show. Absolutely.
Awesome.
It's also the only segment that has a name to it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So first off, I'll ask you: have you come down from your high from yesterday's game?
Not really.
I bet.
Not really. It's weird because you tell the guys, you're supposed to let a loss hurt for a little bit, but you got to eventually get over it. But when you win, you can try to ride that emotion as long as you can.
Right. You guys are right now on a 3-game winning streak. Not to jinx you or anything, coming up with your game on Friday. What's that like for your team right now to taste the winning ways?
It's great. They're finally getting the results that they've been working towards, so that's always good too. Because all year we've been preaching things and we haven't been getting the results, or we've been getting mixed results. Now it's a little more consistent that we're getting what we want. So that's a good feeling to have. The guys are flying high, but there's still a lot of things we need to work on too. I
had the opportunity to be at the game last night. An incredible atmosphere from such a small town of the Swanton Highgate area.
Yeah.
What was it like going into an atmosphere like that? Because, like you said before, you guys aren't the greatest away team. Away team.
Yeah. Hey, the way we look at it, I was happy. If you look at the first half, how loud it was, the student section, they were absolutely going crazy. It was a great atmosphere for MVU to play in. Things weren't going our way. Guys were on the bench with early foul trouble. We weren't playing the best. All of that combined felt like a playoff atmosphere. So I'm glad we got that experience. In the second half, we were able to come out, make a few adjustments, and a couple guys got hot for us. So.
What did you say to the team inside at halftime? Because I had said to my partner at the time that if you'd taken away the score and just on the atmosphere alone, I would have thought you guys were down 20 points, and you guys were only down by a point or so.
Yeah, we were fortunate to hang on. We were down by 3 points at halftime. But it's funny that you say that because Dan Rayom, my assistant coach, he said the same thing. It feels like we're down 10-15, but on the scoreboard it's only 3. So at halftime, we tried to tell the guys, we knew that they were going to be ready. We knew MVU was going to be ready. They're always ready to play against BFA. We knew they were going to be ready. We knew they were going to have a good student section. We knew things were going to be loud, and we knew they were going to take the first swing. So we tried to just emphasize that that's it. We've got to take that first punch, and then now we've got to respond. What we wanted to do in the second half, which we did a better job with, is trying to get the ball out of the Walker kid's hands because he played so well.
Right.
He played so he's come such a long way. I can't say enough good things about him. He was confident. He had post moves. He was rebounding. He hit his foul shots. He had a really good game last night.
Yeah, I mean, you get to see him at least a few more times from this year and maybe next year as well. He's only a junior too.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we knew he was going to play well, and the Sullivan kid too. He's a really good shooter. So Will Harvey had the Sullivan kid and did a great job on him again, and Danny Rayom had the Walker kid, and Danny picked up 2 quick fouls. And then Jens picked up 2 quick fouls, and then Cody picked up 2 quick fouls, and then all of a sudden we were in a situation that we've never been in this year with those 3 guys on the bench. So we went really small.
Yeah.
And we were able to hang on. Somehow we were able to hang on.
Yeah, I mean, there's one kid in particular that really stepped up for you last game, and I guess I shouldn't really stepped up. He's kind of been there all year, but Chris Myers-Tinney, 26 points, 5 assists, 9 rebounds, and 3 steals. He had himself one heck of a game last night, and I had said on many occasions, it almost looked like he was shooting to exhaustion at some point.
You talk about those 3 guys are on the bench, Verteber, Rayom, and Para. Somebody had to step up. And that's exactly what he did. He was hitting his shot. He was hitting that 3. He took a bad 3, right? And he kind of hung his head, and we were just screaming at him, keep shooting. If you're open, keep shooting. Keep shooting, keep shooting. So he really dug deep last night because he's capable of having a really good game like that. But that was just kind of next level stuff. 6 3-pointers is very impressive in one game.
Well, yeah, for any age, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw when we were going over some of the first half stats. We were talking about Myers-Tinney. The frustration was evident in the beginning. I think Walker had a couple blocks on him real early in the game. But I guess the game plan, like you said, just really worked well with just telling him to he's got the hot hand, just shoot.
Yeah.
You guys shot a lot of threes last night and made a majority of them too.
Yeah, we are. See, and that comes back to being balanced. I've said that all year that we're very balanced on our offensive end. We have post presence, we have guys from the outside, we have guys that can take it to the hoop. It is a little scary as a coach when the majority of your offense is coming from behind the arc, because I know that that's not going to happen every night. We're not going to shoot that well every night. So on the nights that we're not shooting, we're going to have to really focus on getting the ball into Cody and Jens and Danny.
Can you talk about MVU's plan? I mean, they double-teamed Verteber all night. Every time I looked over there, the 2 towers were surrounding him between Walker and Cutting.
Yeah, they did a great job on Jens. He was there was somebody constantly there making contact with him. Just disrupting what he wanted to do in the game. Jens did a good job. He was able to rebound for us. I think he had 9-10 rebounds last night.
Right.
So that's what we try to tell him. If they're taking away one aspect of your game, you've got to figure out what you can do to help the team win. So last night they did a really good job of limiting his touches. And when he did touch the ball, there was someone right there on him, sometimes 2 guys on him. So we just try to get him to focus on other parts of his game. If it's not his night, it's not his night. It's got to be somebody else's. Yeah,
it wasn't really just Jens that was doing good with the boards. Your team out-rebounded them by at least a dozen or so. I mean, your second chance scoring really prevailed for you, giving you guys a lot of opportunities to get the ball in.
I think that's what kept us in the game in the first half. We did not play the best, but we rebounded well. We definitely were a little more aggressive on the boards, and I think that paid off for us.
Were you surprised towards the end of the game, a minute left to go, you guys are up, I believe, 5 or 6, and Walker, the big boy there, he took 2 uncontested threes, but at the same time, didn't seem like that was really his comfort zone.
No. One of those, he was bringing the ball up the floor, and the guy with the ball is the most important guy on the floor, right?
Right.
And he was able to walk right up and take a straightaway 3 without anybody. So that was really a lack of focus right there on our part. We got away with one there. I think it was a Tatro kid was the closest kid and decided last second that, hey, I got to jump in front of this kid, because he had a clean look at a 3 straight away. So that's something happened there where we missed that assignment big time.
You guys have Middlebury coming up this Friday, a team that you beat pretty easily early in the year, but now you guys are heading there. Can you give us a little insight onto what you've been telling your guys for the game coming up?
Yeah, nothing is ever given to you. You've got to earn everything, and I know the game was a little lopsided. The score was a little lopsided last time we played them, but it's going to be different this time around. All these teams we play the second time through have all grown, and they've gotten better too. And what we want to do Friday is just move the ball and attack that zone on the weak side. If we can reverse the ball and get that defense to shift a couple of times, gaps will start opening up, and then I really want to attack, because that's what we did last time, and that's what worked well. We reversed the ball and we attacked the weak side. We reversed the ball, attacked the weak side. So we're going to look to do that again Friday.
What do you guys? What do you do as a coaching staff? Really, that you have 5 games left. The playoffs are obviously coming up fairly soon. Is there anything that you guys do to kind of de-stress the team a little bit, or are they kind of more of a relaxed group? Because that's what we see from them when they're on the court. They're not over eccentric when they're on the court. So I kind of get the sense that they're already a more relaxed team.
Yeah, these kids are awesome. They're very mature, for their age. A lot of these guys are sophomores, and with the freshmen. Mark Connor, the senior, he keeps things light. He's quite a character off the court, and a great leader on the court. So he can play both those roles. But we do team dinners all the time. The Vertebrers have opened their house for a team breakfast. The Connors are opening their house up for a team dinner. Tatro's, the Tatro sub store in St. Albans.
Oh, that's the kid, their owners there? That's funny.
Yeah, his parents are the owners. They've catered our away games, so they give us, each kid gets like a foot-long sub, chips, cookie. So there are a lot of people around us that really care and are willing to put in some time and show the kids that, what they're doing is something to be recognized. So we really appreciate that. I think that helps keep these kids grounded and a little loose too.
Is that a prerequisite for players on your team? Their parents have to own a food store or something like that?
That is a great perk having having Tyler on the team. He can hit the 3, he can get to the basket, he can play defense, and his parents they do a pretty good job with that shop in town too.
I'll leave you with this, Coach. Have you ever had a more stressful birthday than you did yesterday?
I do not think so. There were times where, as loud as it was there, it was really a test for me as well as the players.
Yeah, I really appreciate you giving us a call, Coach. Again, 3-game winning streak with your team, and you're heading off to Middlebury this Friday. So I want to just wish you good luck and good luck. And we'll talk to you hopefully next week.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, bye.
So that was Coach Matt Tu for the BFA Bob Whites. I mean, you can hear it in his voice how relieved he was to have won that game yesterday. I showed you some of the footage yesterday. You can always watch it here on Northwest Access TV coming up in the next couple weeks as well. The atmosphere from that game was just, we were talking about this where with him a couple weeks ago, where it was like, we realized that the fans aren't really getting into the game at all. And MVU, that student section was fantastic to watch, and it really showed a lot of school spirit as well. Beginning of the game, they've all got the newspapers up while the other team's getting introduced. And it's just really fun to see that. And then the second MVU starts getting introduced, the newspapers go flying and the cheering section starts. It was really cool to see last night.
And that's one of the best part about going to high school games, because that's the whole point of it. You want a group that is energetic and full of life, and you want your team to feel that. And every time I've gone to the game with you, which I'm hoping to do more of, don't count me out, I have a baby.
The baby can just sit there.
Exactly.
The stroller goes right up on the stage. It's fine.
But,
we just talked about BFA's not a loud gym. It's fine.
It
They will sleep
needs
right
to be.
through.
The fans need to get into this. The parents need to get into this. Cheer for these kids, because they are fun to watch. They are a great group of kids, and they deserve to have the gym packed with people cheering for them because they have earned that.
I'm telling you, MVU, the final game of the season for BFA is against MVU at home. This team is only 2 exits away. You know, I could see them traveling very well, especially on BFA's senior night on that Friday. I think it's the 18th or something into that line, a couple weeks into February. So I can see that, and honestly, this could really have a lot of playoff implication because the way that BFA is playing and their teams coming down the rest of the year. 3-11 Middlebury, 7-8 Milton, which is D2. 0-15 Mount Abraham, that's D2. 6-9 Virgins, that's D2. And then that final game against MVU. Right now they're I think 10-11 in the standings. But if both of these teams can put up a little bit of a winning streak towards the end of the season, you could see MVU BFA as that first round in the playoffs. And then it depends on who's playing where.
Yep.
It's not at all impossible for that to happen. They only have to jump up a few spots each, and if they keep their winning ways, they could do so. BFA is very fortunate to have this end of the season. I'm not going to say cream puff, but you know what I'm getting at is an easier schedule there.
Yep.
The combined records for all 5 teams they're playing is 24-50.
Yep.
And 3 of those teams are D2 teams. So I'd be very excited for that game against MVU, the last game of the season.
It'll be fun to watch.
I'd be curious to see how well MVU travels because that student section is the best one we've seen so far this year. So we've only got probably another minute or so. We were talking a little bit of basketball. We can finish up a little bit more on that.
I don't know. As far as the Warriors go, as far as the Spurs go and the Cavs go, the Cavs are falling apart in every aspect.
Have we seen the last of LeBron, the great LeBron James? Because he's just not in the spotlight anymore like he was. You've got this other team now that is taken over all aspects of sports coverage.
Was LeBron ever really that good?
He was after his 4 years at Cleveland University.
When you look at LeBron is a highlight player. He puts up big dunks. He puts up tremendous blocks and steals and stuff like that. But he's never been a shooter. He can take over a game by every stretch of the imagination, yes, but he's never been able to do it on his own. You look at the teams they have tried to build around him, and Cleveland has still yet to be able to figure out how to build a team around him. They don't use Kevin Love to his strengths. They have Kyrie Irving, who pretty much since LeBron's gone there has gone downhill. They're just not that team. They don't play with that kind of chemistry that you see out of the Spurs or the Warriors, who both are dynamic in every aspect of the game, and their players are happy on their teams. When you look at Cleveland, no one's happy. Everyone's.
I'd be interested to see though what the new coach that's now in there, what he'll bring to the table, because he's already come out and kind of held people like Irving responsible by telling them it's not about you, it's about the team. Get off your butts and start thinking all for one, not one for all type of situation. So I'd be curious to see how that continues throughout the year, because if they got a coach that's not afraid to talk down to these players but still maintains respect with them, I'd see if they could turn it around. But I think it's very comparable to the NFL, where I don't think any team's going to beat the Western team when you got the Spurs and Warriors there.
No.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for Huddle Up. Thank you to Coach Matt, too, for BFA to join us. Hopefully we can do it again next week. I'm Paul. He's JT. He's got a hula girl skirt on his cup.